Convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester, as well as his co-accused, are expected back in the Free State High Court for their pre-trial hearing. Can you believe it? We're still at that point. The court will also hear an application today by Bester's legal team to challenge his arrest in Tanzania last year. The application seeks to challenge the court's jurisdiction on the matter, as well as issues around whether or not he's getting a fair trial. Our reporter Kamogelo Seekoei is back at court for us and joins us now live for a sense of what we can expect. And the last time we were there, Kamogelo, Bester's new lawyer decried the conditions in which he's able to consult with his client. The court gave him an opportunity before Bester was taken back to prison to do that. Of course, today we're waiting to see how much of that has actually taken place.
Yes, Ayanda, you remember that, in fact, the judge had given Bester's lawyer up to today to actually serve all the involved parties with papers. And in the papers that they had actually given to the NPA, that mentioned correctional services as well as the police. So today we see that representatives from the police, or rather for the police as well as for correctional services, are also here. I don't know if you can see behind me, but the lawyers for Bester are already here. Also in this matter, if you can recall, we have two other accused whose lawyer withdrew from the matter last week, and they have to confirm to the court today about whether they have legal representation. But we do see that there are some lawyers or from the legal aid. But I do have here with me legal analyst, advocate Ines Bezadian-Holt, who I really wanted to help us understand these two applications that Thabo Bester will be bringing to court today. One being jurisdiction and the other one being fair trial. What does it all mean?
Thank you, Kamo, for the opportunity. So in this instance, we expect that since the parties, the other representatives for the parties that will be present, are present today, we expect that the matter will be ventilated in more detail. However, it's unclear whether the notice of motion was filed correctly, and we expect that answering affidavits will be filed to answer to the application that is brought. Now, there were aspects raised that one expects to be in the application, and one is, of course, the way that consultations is conducted in prison, also the fact that the accused is wearing shackles, and then one has to remember regarding the jurisdiction. The state alluded to the fact that the accused brought it in person and not through his legal representatives, so it's unclear whether that will be part of the application brought to court.
There's also an issue of urgency. The judge did say it's up to the lawyers or up to Bester if he wants this matter to be an urgent matter. What are the indications in terms of that?
It is difficult to indicate. However, when one expects urgency, it is for the party bringing the application to prove that the matter is urgent. This is a type of application, however, that can be brought in the same court without a notice of motion from the bar side, so the advocate can address the court and the court can entertain the application of the nature, especially if it's regarding the way that consultations are conducted and the wearing of shackles. Jurisdiction is another aspect, but we have to remember that the aspect of jurisdiction can be part of the plea proceedings during the trial.
Before we even get to that, in terms of time frame for this particular application, how long is it likely to take?
One expects the other parties to have sufficient time to answer to the application. All parties of a material interest need to have time to answer to that, but however, one doesn't expect that it would necessarily delay the trial process. It could be an ancillary application brought in separately and not necessarily impact the manner in which the trial will proceed or the date set for the trial.
So essentially that means all the other accused will be here while this application is being unpacked in court?
If it is unpacked in court today, one expects that to be, but it's doubtful whether the application will be unpacked if we expect that proper filing, proper answering should have been conducted. It's only a week later since the state received notice of this application. Normal court rules apply, and therefore the parties should have ample time, unless, of course, urgency could be proved in this instance.
Let me ask you this. You say ample time. What is ample time?
It depends, but court rules dictate how it should proceed, and that will depend on the nature of the application. Usually one expects at least 10 days if it's not an urgent application, but urgent applications can be brought overnight, and therefore one can answer to that instantaneously, so to speak.
And then let's go back to the issue of shackles and the fact that social media is abuzz about the fact that Thabo Bester is a convict, but he appears in court without the orange overalls. Does that have any bearing in terms of what he's talking about in terms of fair trial?
Fair trial rights in terms of Section 35(3) of the Constitution dictate that substantial justice should prevail. There's differing opinions in terms of case law, reported case law on the wearing of shackles. However, it indicates or it refers to the way that the accused will be seen and treated. We have to remember that it's about the dignity of the accused. Also, the impartiality of the court. So when an accused appears in prison attire and in shackles, it does affect his dignity, and also it might have an influence on the impartiality, although court should be objective, and one doesn't think necessarily that it will impact the court's decision.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Advocate Ines Bezaidin-Hout. They're talking to us about what is likely to happen here in court. And of course, we wait to see whether this matter is going to be urgent or not. With that, it's back to you in studio.
All right, Kamogelo Seekoei, thanks very much indeed. As soon as proceedings begin there, we'll certainly take those live. Kamogelo Seekoei is our reporter live to us from inside the High Court in the Free State.